You're listening to the Write Project podcast and radio program, a show about writing and modern Newfoundland author culture. This program is produced and recorded at CHMR FM 93.5 FM in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, and is aired on other great stations in the province and elsewhere in the country. It can also be heard online at www.chmr.ca. I'm your host, Matthew LeDrew. Welcome to a very special episode of the Write Project podcast. Today, we've got a host of authors on to answer one of the most frequent questions that's asked of any author. We're asking them, how many unpublished or half-finished books do you have? And today to answer, we have on Ellen Curtis, who serves on the Waddleton board and is the author of the Infinity series from Engine Books, as well as the editor of the From the Rock anthology. How many unpublished or half-finished books do you have in your internal library?
Without actually looking to count, there are probably 4 or 5 that I've started over the years. They're just sitting there. Unfinished short stories, I wouldn't have any of those because I usually get those out all in one sitting.
Cool. That's a talent. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Lauralana Dunne, the superstar short story author who recently put out her first full novel, Ashes, which came out in June 2020 from Engine Books. Lauralana Dunne, how many unpublished or half-finished books do you have?
Of my own writing, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So I have book 2 completed.
Do you?
Technically, I do, but I'm not, it needs a lot of revamping, I'll say. I think I'm going to go in a bit of a different direction, so I gotta get that all. It was a NaNoWriMo thing.
So you're not ready to send it to me yet?
Oh, no.
Oh.
No, thank you, no.
Sad
no.
face.
No, for sure. It was a NaNoWriMo experiment, I guess, or contest over the course of 2 years. So the first year I wrote the first half, and then the following year I wrote, the second half. So it's also sitting at about 100,000 words. But in the true form of NaNoWriMo, it's more like stream of consciousness as opposed to actual, I'll say tinkered stuff. So it's needs to be polished, needs to be rearranged, things like that. So I have that one. I have I have the start of a novella for a project that I'm working on, which you are familiar with. And
I am? Oh, yes.
Or not. And
we can say that. We can say that. So you're writing one of the novellas for Slipstreamers.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So myself and Amanda Labonte are doing a joint story over 2 books is the current plan.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
So that's super fun. She's really great to work with. Our brains are kind of similar, and neither of us have teamed up with another author before, so I think it's very interesting and enjoyable experience so far.
Yeah, and you two are friends outside of writing life as well, so it's a good team, I think.
Yeah, we actually got to know each other better because of writing. We kind of more so knew each other peripherally, but yeah, so we spent a lot of time in different writing groups, and we had gone to some different seminars together, which was really neat.
So that's really good that you have the second one done, and it's really great that you two are working on Slipstreamers together. I think that's going to be a super fun thing. But I want to say it's a really good thing that you've got the first draft of the second book done, because we've set a release date, and it's this January 1st, 2021. So that's great, right?
That's only 7 months away.
We're joking. Yeah.
Oh my God, why are you like this?
Because I'm a bad person. I love how long that went.
Who hurt you? Why are you like this?
Yeah. I learned it from watching you.
Pardon?
I learned it from watching you.
I got it from you. Other than those 2, I have another I don't know if it's going to be a novella or a full novel that I started working on. It's a little fun fun thing for me, work in progress, but I have no deadline on that one, so that one's just kind of hanging out in the ether until I, finish the ones with deadlines.
I got a few like that too, and I always feel bad because there's like at least one novel that I've had in the ether for like you're saying for 10 years, and every now and again between projects that I feel more committed to, like the 2 series I'm involved in, I'll pick it up and try to tinker with it and then put it back down. And it feels very neglected, and I don't like that,
I do, yeah. This one I only kind of drafted the outline for last September or last summer, so I mean, it's not 10 years, it's almost a year, I suppose, but I've only, like you said, only really been able to pick at it because there's been so much other stuff to do first, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Erin Vance, Editor-in-Chief of Engine Books and the editor of the From the Rock anthology series. How many unpublished or half-finished books do you have?
3? 4.
4?
I have 4.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of them's really close.
We'll look forward to those. Awkward laugh. Awkward laugh.
Awkward laugh.
Yeah. What does...
5.
5.
I just remember the other one.
Yeah. I feel like that one will never see the light of day.
I had it all planned out, man.
You sound like someone after a heist went wrong. We had it all planned out, man.
That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Poor Gabe.
Yeah.
Will his story ever be told?
Yeah. Someday. Thank you very much. Next on the line, we have Nicole Little. Nicole Little is an acclaimed short story author who has been featured in more than a half dozen titles just in the last year. She has been featured in Kitsora, the autobiography, best-selling dystopia From the Rock, Flights from the Rock, Monsters, Beyond, and Apocalypse, Eerie Christmas, Love, and Bad Romance. It's just a plethora of short story material. Currently, she is working on the Lotus Fountain, which is going to be one of the books included in, or novellas included in a big project from Engine Books that we can talk about now called Slipstreamers. Nicole Little, how many unpublished or half-finished books do you have? Not stories, but, novels.
Oh my goodness. I've got at least 2.
Okay.
And 3 if I count the Lotus Fountain, but I'm currently working on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a couple that, I've got one that I started earlier this year that I will eventually finish, but I knew when I started it that it was going to be like a long-term project. Like, it wasn't something that I was just going to hammer out straight away. Like, I've written the first 3 chapters, and, I'm never going to be 100% happy with it because that's just me. It hasn't been edited. It's just straight up, just
no
writing.
one's ever 100% happy with a book.
Yeah, like, and if I keep picking at it, I will be at it for years. So I'm just, it's just something I'm going to, pick at here and there when I have, like, nothing huge on the go. I did have another one that I started. I didn't get not a whole lot into it. What it turned out to be was that I had 2 short stories that were similar, and I thought I could combine those 2 short stories and I would have the beginning of a novel, which is what I did. And then I sort of got a bit tangly because I got a bit lost and wasn't sure where to go with it, so I sort of put that on the back burner for a while.
Sure.
I'll get back to it eventually.
Everyone does, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. On the line now we have Kelley Power, president of the Writers Alliance of Newfoundland and Labrador, as well as contributing author to Chillers from the Rock and What's Written in the Ladies. Kelley Power, how many unpublished or half-finished books or projects do you have?
When you say projects, do you also mean stories?
Yes.
And then I'd say there's at least 20 between books and short stories.
Interesting. Okay. Get on those.
Yeah, I got a little bit of a Da Vinci thing going on where I guess I don't like finishing anything.
That is interesting. Yeah.
I mean, now, having likened myself to a master, which is the heights of ego, I will say that what he did finish turned out to be great, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
That's where all that's heading.
Can you imagine if I'm sure there's an alternate universe tale out there where he actually completed the airplane from those original designs, and we gained the power of flight like 200 years earlier, and the effect that had on society. There must be an alternate universe story out there where that happens, and I want to track it down and read it now.
It totally happened in an episode of Star Trek Voyager.
There's got to be good science fiction out there where that happened.
Oh my god, you just threw the gauntlet down.
No, I actually like Voyager.
Don't diss the Janeway.
Oh, no diss to Janeway. Neelix, all the disses.
Oh yeah, no, I'll do the disses over that.
Yeah. I think every Star Trek has this, like, why? What?
Yes.
Why? Almost every... Actually, I'm not even going to say Star Trek. Just all... Like, again, the 90% rule. But it's in the opposite, where even, like, with good science fiction, there's that 10% there's like, why'd you do this? Like, Jar Jar Binks, why?
It's the 10% rule applied to ensemble casts. 90%? Fine.
Yeah.
10%? Hot garbage.
Yeah. Star Trek has a bit of a fraught history with its writers, though. Like Voyager is a very specific example for me that I bring up when I talk about artist rights or writer rights. Because several of the characters, and in Deep Space Nine as well, basically the TNG spin-offs, there were characters in one-off episodes of The Next Generation that they were like, oh, let's continue that character's story in this new series. Let's have this character that was in only 1 or 2 episodes of The Next Generation become a main character in the spin-off show. That's a cool thing to do, and that does sound like a cool thing to do. But they realized that they would have to then pay royalties to the writer of that one episode for every episode of the new series, because you're using the character they created in every single episode. So what they did to get around that often was they created a brand new character that was exactly like the other character except in name, and then didn't pay any royalties.
Oh, I didn't know that. Do you know character examples?
I do. So Tom Paris from Voyager, a character that I like, he was based, his backstory, if you look at it, is exactly, he's based on a character from The Next Generation when Wesley was in school, and there was a bunch of people that, like, fraudulently, like, they did a stunt, and there was one kid who accidentally got someone killed and stuff like this, so they had this big tribunal, like this, and Picard came and gave Wesley advice and all this other stuff. That kid, the bad kid that learns his lesson by the end and gets kind of sent out and kicked out of the academy, that was Tom Paris initially.
Oh.
And for DS9, the second in command, I can't remember her name now, but the Bajoran character in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, Kira,
maybe. Yes, was going to be the Bajoran character from Star Trek The Next Generation, the Ensign Ro.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can see it in that once once DS9 got off the ground and they didn't use Ensign Ro, that's just the end of when we see Ensign Ro. Like, it's like, I see, you were supposed to leave and go over there, but you didn't.
You didn't make the royalties cut.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's sad and interesting. We see that in long-running science fiction a lot. Like, I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're way off tangent from the question. But, like, I love the MCU. But there's a reason that, aside from Wolverine, you tend to only see Marvel characters that were created by Stan Lee. Because if it was created post, like, late 80s, then there's questions of royalties and stuff like that. Like, the Marvel has a dodgy history. I love them, but they have a dodgy history with creator paying... Marvel's basic rule of thumb is you got paid to write the story. That's it.
I've read about this in the past. I wouldn't remember the details of it, but I have read about that and how they structured that. in that particular way. And Jack Kirby's the guy that there's some question about, right? Like, in terms of...
Jack Kirby's different because he actually... The ones that are canon, like the ones that are, like, obviously owned by Marvel that Stan Lee created, he also kind of co-created them. Like, with comics, it's not like with other forms of literature where it's like, oh, well, if you wrote a story, you obviously created those characters. It's collaborative with the artist.
Okay.
So with Jack Kirby, it's a question of, like, why does it say... I love Stan Lee, but why does it say that only he created Spider-Man when 50% of the credit should presumably go to this gentleman?
Yeah, and I've read about that piece too. Again, I read the articles sometimes. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting, but I don't retain the information from it. But I have seen various things. Like, Marvel's so popular, right? You'll see the stuff turn up in different articles all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that relationship between them and the writers versus the illustrators and...
Len Wein is my go-to example. Do you know who Len Wein is?
I don't.
Of course you don't. And that's not... to diss you, nobody outside of, like, hardcore comics fans would know that name off the top of their heads. He has this long... He's still alive today, still working in comics today, has this long resume. Like, he was editor-in-chief of DC Comics for a while. I believe he was one of the main editors at Marvel Comics for a while. Steered, like, their story direction through the, like, late 80s, early 90s, like, before things went to hell, like, just the heyday of Marvel. All this wonderful, wonderful stuff. What you would definitely know him for is he created Wolverine.
Mm-hmm, okay.
Like, he wrote that issue and he's never gotten a paycheck for any of the movies, the toys, the TV shows, nothing. He got paid to write that issue.
Isn't that wild?
It is wild. And don't get me wrong, like I said, he's still working. I'm sure he has a great career. Like, it doesn't seem like there's any sour grapes or anything like that. But, like, that's
it's
a bit
just the way
wild.
The shop worked. I guess, that's how those shops worked, and that's what you signed up for, and I guess that's why there's no sour grapes. It's kind of like, oh, well, like, I'm kind of pissed off about that in my heart, but it's like the guy who created the digital camera.
Yeah.
He created it while he was working with someone like Canon. It's like, it's their intellectual property. With the pixel technology, it's like, oh, well.
Yeah.
If you were independent and could patent that, well, woohoo.
I would hope, and maybe it doesn't work out this way, and if it doesn't, we should support these creators and people to the ends of the earth in whatever way we can. But, like, I would hope that at the very least these people can make a living off the rest of their life just going around and giving talks and stuff like that. Like, I am the guy who created the Pixel. Like, yes, I will go listen to you talk, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Next on the line, we have Amanda Labonte, author of the Call of the Sea and Supernatural Causes series. How many unpublished or half-finished books do you have?
Right now?
Yeah.
I feel bad because, like, okay. Because you're my publisher and there were other projects I wasn't finishing. But, like, I was inspired by things. I have 4 unpublished books right now.
That's fine. They'll all be done at some point.
They will. No, they're mostly done. I'm just I'm actually re-editing one now. That I kind of put away for a little while. It's just, I've more and more the more I write, sometimes I'll just get inspired to write something and I'll do like a complete draft in a really short period of time, but it's a garbage draft that I have to go back and clean up later, but I just need to kind of get it put away so I can go back to the projects that I'm currently working on.
Sure.
It's almost like a palette cleanser, so I really enjoy them, but yeah, now I'm like re-editing one of those projects because one of the problems with writing really fast for me is that I also don't necessarily write really well. So
I've been trying
really well. Yeah.
For a while, I was trying to do write a novel and then as a palette cleanser write like a different short story, like in a different genre. But I found that I didn't have I'm very bad at short stories, and they always threaten to blossom into full novels. And at that point, nothing will ever get done.
Right. I'm a bad short story writer, too.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Next on the line, we have author Shannon Green. Shannon Green is a gifted author with a talent for the strange and has been recognized in both the genre community and the contemporary literary community for his pursuits. In the past, he has been shortlisted for the 1996 Arts and Letters Award and has as well won the 2015 Audience Choice Steampunk Newfoundland Showcase. Green has received praise for his stories The Wine Dark Sea in Chillers from the Rock, as well as his stories in Fantasy from the Rock, Dystopia from the Rock, The Hamthology, and the just-released Flights from the Rock. Thank you for joining us, Shannon. How many unpublished or half-finished books do you have?
Well, currently I'm working on a generational series that follows the family. I'm trying to think how to explain this one. Follows a family who started a freehold after an apocalypse.
Okay.
So it goes from the loss of technology to the rediscovery of magic. And the character I enjoy the most is the wastrel son, who's grandson of the original character, who is just a free trader floating about the world. I'm also working on, I've been calling it a modern-day Trojan horse story that I don't want to give too much away, but it's a Trojan horse type story where they get in under, here's a gift and take over the country. So those are my 4 big ones right now, but then there's countless stories that start and stop, and I'm trying to limit myself to at least one of the 2 big projects, which is the 4 novels. And it's difficult because I'll work on one for so long and then there'll be another idea for something entirely new, or no, this would work way better in the Trojan horse, or this would work way better with the generations, or so. Yeah, did I actually answer your question with
You
that?
did.
You did.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Next on the line, we have Chelsea B., author of London Calling and Christmas Mornings. How many unpublished or half-finished books do you have, Chelsea B.?
I have 1 in the editing stage and 2 that I'm seriously writing, and about a dozen ideas in like half-broken, half-written outlines.
Cool. Excellent. Thank you very much. Next on the line, we have Candace Osmond, best-selling author of Dark Tides and Killer Me. How many unpublished or half-finished books do you have?
7.
Okay. That's a very specific answer, and I respect that.
Well, that because, strangely, it's weird that you asked me that. Yesterday, I was going through all my files, trying to clean things up. I do that every now and then. I was like, holy cow, I have like 7 of these plots done. I have one of them is actually like the first 3 chapters is written, and it's just like things I put aside to make, But yeah, 7.
Yep. I always worry that, not that I'll ever be big enough for this to happen, but I always worry that, like, eventually after I leave this world, that someone will go around behind me and take all those half-finished, half-baked ideas and, like, chunks of chapters and stuff like that, and publish, like, Matthew LeDrew, The Unfinished Tales, and I'm like, no, that can never see the light of day. No. Thank you very much. Next on the line, we have John Hass, author of The Reluctant Barbarian. How many unpublished or half-finished novels do you have on your computer or in your drawers?
Oh my. That's a good question. I need to open up a folder on my computer.
You can guesstimate it.
I have got, in terms of novels, I have got probably 3. One which is my next novel, which is in process. One that I finished and will probably never see the light of day. And then another one which is I'm not entirely sure if it's a novel or a novella or what, but it's stalled at a point, and it's something that I will come back to eventually.
Gotcha.
And then, as far as stories go, I've probably got about 40 short stories that are... some are abandoned, some will eventually come back to. I'm never entirely sure if I'm going to come back to it or if it's just going to sit there until I die.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Thank you, sir. Next on the line, we have Tracey Waddleton, who is from Trepassey, Newfoundland. She recently just put out a book through Breakwater Books called Send More Tourists, The Last Ones Were Delicious, which is a collection of absolutely wonderful and hilarious and surreal and dreamlike short stories. I got sent this by someone at Breakwater and read through it, and it is just hilarious. Like, they sent it to me and said, "We have something that's up your alley, Matt." And I'm like, what? And they weren't wrong. It's pretty amazing short stories. But yeah, we have the author on right now. She's been getting great reviews from Brooke Davis and Joel Thomas Hines, and just a lot of awards buzz. She's been published in Riddle Fence, The Telegram, Newfoundland Quarterly, Paragon, the Cover Anthology. You are just blowing up.
Oh, well, I don't know about that, but I'm really glad that you like the collection.
How many unfinished or half-published books or stories do you have?
Oh, dear. I have many. I have another little collection thing sitting on my computer that I have yet to put together. I'm working on a novel right now and a play. I have a graphic novel series that I've kind of been toying around with for about 10 years in the back of my head, but I don't have an illustrator. I need to find the right person for that. A friend and I are working on a strange little cookbook. I have tons of projects that are just sitting there, half done. Some of them may never be realized. Some of them I'm hoping will come to fruition in the next few years. I have a certain thing in mind. The real problem with these graphic novels, it's a series, right? And I'm sort of like having to think about the plot wholly across, like, you know, issue to issue to issue. And maybe I'm putting too much thought into it and should just let the first couple go. But I keep thinking I have to figure out the entire plot and the entire everything that happens before I can even like let them out, right?
I imagine that's
I'm not sure.
That's a good idea when it comes to a graphic novel, but I've never written one, so I can't say for sure.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to meet people who are doing that kind of thing. Maybe I'll just send Neil Gaiman a message and he'll give me some advice.
Absolutely. I actually do know an indie comic book writer too. I'll a few of them. I'll set you up in contact. That could be fun. I'll cut this part out, this networking part.
Of course, yeah. No, that would be great.
Yeah.
I like the idea and I'm really excited about it, but it's kind of been on the back burner for a while because I'm waiting to see the artwork that will, and also to speak to somebody who can give me some advice about like how that works. I mean, if you're putting out, 10 different like graphic novels like that are linked, like I guess you have to figure out the plot, I don't know, beforehand, and
yeah.
So I guess it's still developing because it's quite a big project.
Okay, that's cool. Thank you very much. Next on the line, we have Tyon Collective author Susan McDonald. Susan McDonald, how many unpublished or half-finished books do you have, if you had to guesstimate?
Oh, gee. 10 maybe?
It's a good number. Yeah. All right. All right, well, thanks for coming on again. For all of you, we'll be here again next week at 4:30 Newfoundland time or online at chmr.ca. Please tune in and we'll talk more about writing culture in Newfoundland.